Welcome to American Pulse and Paranormal. Today, we have something truly chilling for you. Before we dive in, make sure to put on your headphones to fully immerse yourself in the spine-tingling tales we're about to share. Get ready for 3 unbelievable true winter horror stories for dark December nights, and now, let's begin. Story 1. The Haunting of Blackwood Cabin. It was the winter of 1985, and John and Emily Harper decided to escape their hectic city life for a serene winter retreat in the secluded Blackwood Cabin. The cabin was located deep in the Rocky Mountains, surrounded by thick forests and snow-capped peaks. John, an author struggling with writer's block, hoped the isolation would spark his creativity, while Emily, a nature photographer, looked forward to capturing the stunning winter landscapes. As they drove through the winding mountain roads, the snowfall intensified and the temperature plummeted. After hours of navigating the treacherous paths, they finally reached the cabin. It was a quaint wooden structure, cozy yet eerie in its isolation. The cabin's previous owners had vanished without a trace decades ago, adding to its mysterious allure. Upon entering, they were greeted by the cold silence of the empty cabin. The air was stale, and the furniture was covered in a thin layer of dust. Despite this, the Harpers quickly settled in, lighting a fire in the hearth to ward off the chill. As the flames flickered and cast dancing shadows on the walls, a sense of unease crept over them. The first night passed uneventfully, but the next day, strange occurrences began to unfold. Emily, out in the woods taking photos, felt an unshakable feeling of being watched. She dismissed it as her imagination, but couldn't shake the sense of dread. Meanwhile, John struggled to concentrate on his writing, plagued by an eerie feeling of someone standing behind him. As the days passed, the phenomena escalated. Objects would move on their own, doors would creak open in the dead of night, and the temperature would drop suddenly, even with the fire blazing. One night, Emily woke up to see the figure of a man standing at the foot of their bed. She screamed, waking John, but when he turned on the light, the figure had vanished. They decided to investigate the history of Blackwood Cabin, hoping to find some explanation for the strange events. They discovered that the cabin's original owner, Thomas Blackwood, had disappeared along with his family during a severe winter storm in 1925. The locals believed that the family had perished in the storm, but their bodies were never found. Determined to uncover the truth, John and Emily searched the cabin for any clues. In the attic, they found an old diary belonging to Thomas Blackwood. The diary detailed the family's last days in the cabin, describing a relentless storm and a growing sense of dread. Thomas wrote about hearing whispers in the wind and seeing shadowy figures outside the windows. The final entry was a chilling message. "They are here. We cannot escape." That night, the Harpers experienced the full force of the cabin's haunting. The temperature plummeted, and the fire was extinguished by an unseen hand. The walls shook, and the air was filled with ghostly whispers. The figure of Thomas Blackwood appeared before them, his eyes filled with sorrow and despair. He reached out to Emily, as if pleading for help. Desperate to put the restless spirits to rest, John and Emily decided to hold a seance. They lit candles and called out to the spirits of the Blackwood family, asking for forgiveness and peace. The cabin grew eerily silent, and the temperature began to rise. Suddenly, the figure of Thomas Blackwood appeared again, this time with his family by his side. They looked at the Harpers with gratitude before slowly fading away. The haunting ceased after the seance, and the cabin returned to its peaceful state. John and Emily felt a sense of relief and accomplishment, knowing they had helped the restless spirits find peace. John's writer's block lifted, and he began to pen a novel inspired by their chilling experiences. Emily captured breathtaking photographs of the winter landscape, each one imbued with a sense of the cabin's mysterious past. As they packed their belongings and prepared to leave Blackwood Cabin, they couldn't help but feel a deep connection to the place. The cabin, once a site of tragedy, had become a place of healing and closure. They left a small token of gratitude, a locket with a picture of the Blackwood family, on the mantelpiece before locking the door behind them. Years later, John's novel became a bestseller, and Emily's photographs were exhibited in galleries across the country. They often reminisced about their time at Blackwood Cabin, grateful for the experience that had brought them closer together and reignited their passions. Story 2. The Frozen Lake Mystery. In the winter of 1992, a group of college friends decided to spend their winter break at Lake Frost, a remote and picturesque location nestled in the mountains of Vermont. The lake was known for its pristine beauty and serene atmosphere, making it the perfect getaway from their stressful academic lives. The group consisted of Sarah, Mark, Rachel, and David, all excited for a week of ice skating, fishing, and winter fun. They arrived at the cabin by the lake just as the sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the frozen landscape. The cabin, though rustic, was cozy and well-equipped for their stay. After unpacking and settling in, they gathered around the fireplace, sharing stories and laughter late into the night. The next morning, they ventured out onto the frozen lake, eager to enjoy the winter activities they had planned. As they skated and fished, they noticed an old man standing by the shore, watching them intently. Curious, Mark approached him and struck up a conversation. The man introduced himself as Mr. Peterson, a local who had lived by the lake for decades. He warned them to be cautious on the ice, as the lake had a dark history of mysterious disappearances. Dismissing Mr. Peterson's warnings as old folklore, the friends continued their activities. However, that night, Rachel woke up to the sound of faint whispers coming from outside the cabin. She peeked through the window but saw nothing but the moonlit snow. Uneasy, she returned to bed, but sleep eluded her. The following day, Sarah and David decided to go ice fishing while Mark and Rachel explored the nearby woods. As Sarah and David sat by their fishing hole, they heard a strange, low humming sound emanating from beneath the ice. Puzzled, they leaned in closer to investigate when suddenly, the ice cracked, and David fell into the freezing water. Panicked, Sarah managed to pull David out just in time. Shivering and frightened, they rushed back to the cabin. They recounted their experience to Mark and Rachel, who were equally disturbed. The group decided to stay indoors for the rest of the day, unnerved by the strange occurrences. That evening, as they sat by the fire, Mr. Peterson visited the cabin again. He noticed their tense expressions and asked what had happened. After hearing their story, he grew somber and revealed the lake's dark history. Many years ago, a group of children had drowned in the lake under mysterious circumstances. Their bodies were never recovered, and it was said that their spirits still haunted the lake, seeking to drag others into the icy depths. Determined to uncover the truth, the friends decided to investigate. They borrowed an old rowboat from Mr. Peterson and set out onto the frozen lake, armed with flashlights and cameras. As they approached the center of the lake, the humming sound grew louder, reverberating through the ice. Suddenly, their flashlights flickered, and a thick fog enveloped the boat. Through the fog, they saw the faint outlines of children standing on the ice, their eyes hollow and filled with sorrow. The friends felt an overwhelming sense of despair as the spirits beckoned them closer. Desperate to escape, they turned the boat around and paddled back to shore with all their might. Back at the cabin, the friends huddled together, trying to make sense of what they had seen. They realized that the spirits of the children were trapped, unable to find peace. Sarah suggested holding a ceremony to honor the lost souls and help them move on. With Mr. Peterson's guidance, they gathered items that represented the children's lives: old toys, school books, and photographs. They returned to the lake and arranged the items in a circle on the ice. As they lit candles and said prayers for the departed, the temperature plummeted and a chill filled the air. The humming sound grew louder, and the spirits appeared once more. This time, however, they seemed less malevolent, their sorrowful eyes filled with a glimmer of hope. As the friends continued their prayers, the fog lifted, and the spirits began to fade away. The air grew warmer, and the humming sound ceased. The next morning, the friends woke to a bright, clear day. The lake, once ominous and foreboding, now seemed peaceful and serene. They packed their belongings and prepared to leave, feeling a sense of closure and relief. Mr. Peterson thanked them for helping to bring peace to the lake, and they bid him farewell. As they drove away from Lake Frost, they couldn't help but feel that they had been part of something extraordinary. The experience had brought them closer together and taught them the importance of honoring the past. They promised to return one day, not out of fear, but to remember the souls they had helped to find peace. Years later, they often reminisced. Story 3. The Spectre of Frostbite Hollow. In the winter of 2005, a group of childhood friends, Lisa, Tom, Mike, and Jenny, decided to reunite for a winter getaway in Frostbite Hollow, a remote village in the Adirondack Mountains of New York. The village, surrounded by dense forests and frozen lakes, was known for its picturesque scenery and tranquil atmosphere. They rented a charming, rustic cabin nestled at the edge of the woods, excited to rekindle their bond and create new memories. As they settled into the cabin, a heavy snowfall blanketed the village, creating a serene and peaceful ambience. The friends spent their days exploring the snow-covered trails, ice skating on the frozen lake, and enjoying each other's company. However, the locals seemed unusually reserved and whispered about strange happenings in the village, which piqued the group's curiosity. One evening, while sitting around the fireplace, the friends heard a distant, mournful howl coming from the forest. Intrigued, Tom suggested they investigate. Despite their initial hesitation, the group agreed, and they ventured into the woods with flashlights in hand. The snow crunched under their boots as they followed the sound deeper into the forest. As they walked, they noticed the temperature dropping rapidly, and an eerie fog began to envelop the trees. Suddenly, Lisa saw a shadowy figure darting between the trees. She pointed it out to the others, but when they shone their flashlights, there was nothing there. Unnerved, they decided to head back to the cabin. That night, Lisa had a vivid nightmare. She saw a spectral figure with hollow eyes and frost-covered skin reaching out to her, whispering her name. She woke up in a cold sweat, feeling an overwhelming sense of dread. She shared her dream with the others, who dismissed it as a result of the eerie atmosphere and the howling wind. The next day, the friends visited the village to learn more about its history. They met an elderly woman named Mrs. Donovan, who seemed reluctant to talk at first. However, after some coaxing, she revealed the dark secret of Frostbite Hollow. Years ago, during a particularly harsh winter, a young woman named Abigail had gone missing in the forest. The villagers searched for her tirelessly, but never found her body. It was said that her spirit roamed the woods, seeking warmth and company. Those who ventured into the forest alone on cold nights often reported seeing her ghostly figure, calling out to them. Determined to uncover the truth, the friends decided to hold a seance that night to try and communicate with Abigail's spirit. They gathered around a table in the cabin, lit candles, and held hands, calling out to the spirit. As they began the seance, the temperature in the cabin plummeted, and the candles flickered wildly. Suddenly, a cold gust of wind blew through the room, extinguishing the flames. The friends heard a soft, mournful whisper, and the figure of Abigail appeared before them, her eyes filled with sorrow. "Help me," she whispered, reaching out to them. Startled, the friends asked how they could help. Abigail revealed that she had been betrayed and left to die by a jealous lover. She could not find peace until her story was known and justice served. The friends vowed to help Abigail find closure. Over the next few days, they scoured the village for any records or clues about her disappearance. They discovered an old letter hidden in the archives of the village library, written by Abigail's lover, confessing to his crime and expressing remorse for his actions. Armed with this new information, the friends returned to the cabin and held another seance. They read the letter aloud, acknowledging Abigail's suffering and promising to share her story with the village. As they spoke, the temperature began to rise, and the candles burned steadily. Abigail's spirit appeared once more, her expression one of relief and gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered, before fading away into the night. The friends felt a sense of accomplishment and closure, knowing they had helped Abigail find peace. They shared her story with the villagers, who held a memorial in her honor. The haunting whispers and sightings ceased, and Frostbite Hollow returned to its tranquil state. As the friends prepared to leave, they reflected on their experience, grateful for the opportunity to reunite and make a difference. They promised to return to Frostbite Hollow one day, not out of fear, but to remember the spirit they had helped to set free. Thank you so much for sticking around until the end of our video on American Pulse and Paranormal. We truly appreciate your support and hope you enjoyed watching as much as we enjoyed creating it. If you found this content engaging, please give us a thumbs up and leave a comment below with your thoughts. Your feedback helps us improve and bring you better content. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. We've got plenty of spooky and exciting videos lined up just for you. Stay tuned and stay curious. See you in the next video.